Welcome to Truth No Chaser, another episode. This is a shot of truth stirred with bold opinions, reversing the miseducation of the black community as it relates to health, politics, and cultural identity. It's just a fellas talk today. We're going to go through the top flaws in men. Top 5 flaws in men.
5.
But we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're not going to do this like this male-female bashing, cultural war, back and forth thing.
Nope.
We're going to be men talking amongst ourselves and giving information to other men through our own life experiences and what we learned and what we know to be true, either through our experiences again or through our God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And as he mentioned, it's just the fellas today. We got a special guest here, my man Brandon Watlington, friend of the show. He's been on the show before, promoted his book, Marriage Bubble and all of that. So we felt like he was a great candidate to come on the show and talk to us about this flaws in men. This is, like Jay said, a transparent conversation just amongst us fellas, things we can work on, improve, so on and so forth. So let's get right to it.
Truth.
No chaser.
So starting off the list, when we did research, we did our own separate researches, and then we have some that we felt we can put on a list ourselves, you know, that are a little more personable. But lack of communication was top the list, basically, when it comes to relationships or around the globe, right? Not just relationships with your woman, relationships at work, so on and so forth. Just men have a tough time communicating. What does that mean to you?
What does that mean to me?
Yes.
I would say some of it is, we have been preconditioned in a lot of ways. And some of it can come from a sense of pride.
Okay.
And a little bit, I want to come off as being incapable of knowing or, or being weak. Things along that line where it's like, I'm not saying anything if you're not saying anything. We're gonna keep it moving because we like to keep everything. I think what some people don't understand is that, we like peace. We like peace. We like it real chill.
Very simple.
I just want peace.
Every time we fight is because we're trying to fight our way to peace.
Right.
And if me confronting you about something or having to communicate a situation which could lead to potential, a clash or could disrupt my peace, I don't want it. So anything to make sure that we keep the vibes real chill, we can just coast, we're gonna go with that. And that's really what it is. So it is kind of a closed mouths don't get fed type of situation though. But half the time it's just because of pride. We don't want to go in there. We don't want to say that we don't know something or that we are not, or that we are aware that we're not able to be able to achieve something. So we just leave it as such. But mainly it's a pride thing, and it's a little bit of an ego thing as well. So hey, you know what? You didn't come to me, so I'm not coming to you, and that's how we're gonna leave it at that.
So interesting, right? Something that you said as far as like the communication. If we want, all we want to do, we believe it or not, contrary to belief, we are trying to be non-confrontational.
Yeah.
We're trying to, like you said, discover the peace. What's crazy is you watch all these like crazy clips from these balloon popping shows and stuff like that. And when the dude is too combative, pop. I don't like no sassy man to go back and forth with a man.
He's sassy. He's zesty.
He's zesty. I don't like no zesty dude that like to go back and forth with a woman. Yada yada yada. So that is that is part of the reason why you don't communicate. See another clip with Joe Budden on Joe Budden's podcast. They have a totally unrelated conversation, and she just brings up his health issues. Like out of nowhere, because she was losing an argument. Melissa Ford. She was losing an argument. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
You know how to get to that button, right?
And then she talked about something out of. Now people don't understand HIPAA is more than just the hospital. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so now you just crossed from a professional standpoint. You just crossed all. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, but Joe Budden ain't that type of person. He ain't gonna, you know what I'm saying?
Off of that, right?
But I would like you to know that was a conversation that you and my blood pressure was a conversation that
Told
you and I
had confidence.
You understand what I'm saying? But now, so this is the reason, and then they say, so as much as I want to be accountable. You know, sometimes the lack of communication ain't on us. Like, you know, we is a reason for that. You agree?
I think that there's some truth to that, obviously, right? But I think the thing is about what we can control that makes the difference, right? When it comes to lack of communication, there's two aspects of it. There's what we communicate, whether we do or don't communicate. But when we do communicate, how effective is it? One of the things, like, when we talked about earlier, we were talking about the whole, should LeBron have responded to the way Stephen A. Smith's words were. I was talking to my wife and my kids the other day, right? And I was like, yo, y'all please stop turning the water on for the shower and then doing whatever before you get in. Right?
I do that shit, so I ain't
and
I'm not gonna hold you.
My wife was raised in New York in an apartment building. There's no such thing as the water bill and the gas bill. And I'm like, yo,
living in Rochdale,
like, there's a water bill and there's a gas bill when you do that. Please, right? And I'm driving my pony. I'm like, I slapped the table. I'm like, you know, just please. I wasn't angry.
Yeah.
But the slapping of the table made everybody be like, I'm just slapping the table. They're like, and then here's the thing. My wife was like, she grew up in a household of all women. So male aggression makes her shut down, right? She's just like, nah, I ain't dealing with that. She's out, right? I have to be cognizant of my listeners. It's not just about what I say, but when I put it out there, it's like, am I putting it out there in the way that it's going to be best received? Or am I just like, I'm the man, this is what I got, you know, I said what I said type thing, which in many ways is a lazy form of communication. You know what I'm saying?
But you know what, though? I think men in general, the communication seems to be the challenge that men have been designated with. Okay. But I think for black men, communication is a bigger challenge, because when we do communicate, it can be deemed aggressive, right? Because you have the big burly black man thing, whatever the case is, or angry black man, or whatever the case is. So I think we subconsciously, or sometimes knowingly, but I think subconsciously we know, if I say this is going to come off bad. Right. So let me just not say what I originally was going to say to hold it.
But can that be ineffective communication, or using those words to effectively match what we feel or what we're trying to communicate to what's heard, right? To the best we can. We can't control what somebody receives. Yeah. But we can do a better job of delivering it. What if we take away aggression?
But yeah, well, that's where. So he talked about the whole popping the balloon, saying that it can't go back and forth. The man who's sassy. I think there's a difference between communicating to argue versus communicating to understand. Okay. Yeah, and that's where you have to understand where your core is at. Right. How am I? What am I trying to get out of this conversation, out of this discourse that we're having? Right. So do I want to have understanding, or am I trying to prove that I'm right and you're completely wrong, you stupid idiot?
And communicating to take away, communicating and trying to take away the aggression when you didn't feel like you were being aggressive is kind of like,
it's hard.
It's hard to do. Okay. It's hard to do.
And I'm playing not sort of devil advocate, but I'm just testing what we're saying, right? So what about when there's not an argument at play? When the woman wants to know how we feel about, the woman, she wants to know how we feel about our jobs. How do you feel about the kid going away this weekend?
Goes back to what you said. Like, we just want peace. Shit, I was at my job all day. I don't want to talk about it.
Right. Yeah, very
you understand what I'm saying? So it's kind of weird. Like,
so we understand that, right?
Right.
But we live in a world not of our own, right?
Yeah.
So how do I communicate? So what they're asking, if there's a flaw of ours that we're identifying that the masses keep saying it is, right?
Yeah.
Then what we're saying is how we feel may not be wrong, and what we're trying to communicate may not be wrong. But maybe instead of saying I was at my job all day, I don't want to talk about it. Leave me alone. Now maybe the opportunity perhaps could be, I'm really tired. I want to share my day with you. Can we, table it till dinner or something like that, or
got you
catch up on our week during the weekend, so she doesn't feel just shut down. Right. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think for that, and that, like I was getting ready to when you said that, made me think about the trade-off. So the trade-off is give and take. It's on both sides. I understand I need to make sure that I give, and we're just gonna say, our spouses, because 90% of the time that we're talking about male communication is with the person that we're our partner.
Yeah,
okay?
men generally don't have problem communicating with one another.
Right, exactly. But it's mainly with our partner. So I know for me, I have to understand when I go into his house, I have to make sure I communicate this to her.
Right.
That way I give her what she needs.
Right,
If I give her
right,
what
right.
she needs, she will give me what I need as well. She's happy. She understands what happened, and then I can go about my day. Now, in my house, it's flipped because, and we had an understanding about this before we even got married. It's like, hey, you know what? When I come in, like if you give me like 15, 30 minutes just to kind of just get settled in, then I'm all yours to tell you about every single thing that you want to know.
That's
what
a great compromise.
That's good.
And that's really what it is. I have no
good.
problem with that. Whatever. I just need my 30 minutes to kind of get settled in, adjusted, and you know what? I'm all yours.
So
You
fellas,
got
give it a try.
That's a nugget.
Give it a
See,
try.
we're trying to get fellas nuggets here.
Right.
Trying to
yeah,
leave
yeah.
ladies out of it and what
Right,
they can
right.
do better
So-
out of it.
so-
You know what I'm saying? We're trying to just get a fella some nuggets.
So tell your ladies, give me a little minute to decompress, get myself together, gather my thoughts, and then we can reconvene at another time.
Yeah,
Man,
it's
that
a
don't
heck
work.
of a
I
day.
said what I said. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. Let's move on. Let's move on to the next one. The next one, which would be like, so we had landed on lack of empathy. Now, let me set this one off because
Okay.
just given the definition alone of empathy, right? Because people tend to confuse the two. There are similarities between sympathy and empathy, but sympathizing with someone, obviously, it's to feel sorry for that person that they have gone through that.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? That
Right.
But to empathize is to not only feel sorry for the person, but to feel sorry for them because you've also gone through it.
Right.
So, again, this is supposed to be accountability, and I know I'm kind of going back on my word. Like I had expressed to Jay before, lack of empathy is a tough one because there are things that you, as my woman, are gonna experience internally, externally that I won't. The only thing I can do is be comforting.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm never gonna know what menstruation is like physically. I'm never gonna know what pregnancy is like. Bevy of things. That I'm as a man, I'm not gonna be able to experience, and vice versa.
Right.
So, that's where I stand on lack of empathy. We really just have to. The emphasis really should be more so on the comforting. I just got to make sure I'm there for you in every capacity of what you're going through. I don't know what you're going through. I don't claim to know what you're going through, but I definitely can be that ultimate shoulder.
You want to take that one, Brandon? First?
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, I may not understand it, and I don't have to understand it. I just have to.
Good.
It's not for us to understand.
That's good.
It's just
Thank
for
you.
us just to say, you know what? What can I do? Is there something that you need? And that's it. And then just
Communication.
say one of those two things, and then be silent.
Communication.
Because-
that's how you communicate that, dude. How can I be of assistance? How can I help you?
Exactly. And, you're saying those things not just because it sounds nice, because you genuinely mean it.
Absolutely.
And then, hear what she says. And if she says, you know what, babe, I'm good, take it as I'm good. Or be like, are you sure? And then leave it at that. But other than that, like I said, there may be a few times where she may say, well, you know what, I might need this, or I might need that. Well, you know what? Fine, we can do that. Not a problem. We make those adjustments. It's about, whether it's the time of the month or if it's, during pregnancy, those late night cravings, going. Right. I remember going to McDonald's at 2 a.m. just for some French fries or whatever the case is. I was like, this is some bull.
Yeah, right. But
I understand that. Listen, I'm not the one carrying this child. Okay,
right.
She is.
I think it's shrouded under that word that you started to use when Frankie was wrapping up was connect. Right? They're looking for us to connect with it, and that's what she knows we're not gonna feel the menstruation pains. But like one of the things, like they're looking for us they're looking to not feel distant. totally bad example, but I'm gonna use it anyway. This is bad man communication skills, but y'all will understand.
You'll get it.
Because women were like, "What? Why would you use that example?"
Mm-hmm.
Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. When we have sympathy and we don't connect with our women, it's just like, oh yeah, menstruating is sad. I can recognize that that's a bad thing, man. I would never want to feel that. Like it's happening somewhere else outside to some other woman.
Mm-hmm.
What they want to do is acknowledge that it's happening to her.
Right.
Right? And then be like, okay, although I can't necessarily take that on, okay, what I can do is acknowledge that's how you're feeling. Bible says, rejoice with those who are rejoicing, mourn with those who are mourning. So in this moment of you being down, I can still be strong, man, but also take some time to be like, oh man, yeah, this sucks, you know. Or the French fry run. Yeah, you hungry? I know you want some fries. You want some fries at 2 in the morning? That's crazy. I'm gonna go get them for you. They're looking for like, oh, I know, like they're looking for that connection to how they feel and not to feel alienated.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
yeah. I mean, you know, you do it
bad
with
at.
a smile.
I mean, look, I'm a genius on the podcast. I suck at it in real life.
I mean, you know, listen, you know, we look, we are always striving for perfection. I don't care where you are in your journey. You know, with your spouse, everybody, we're always striving for perfection, man. You know, so I get it though. You know, so yeah, those 2 in the morning, you know, McDonald's runs, or you know, might be that time of the month, or just, you know what, I put it like this: the day after the election, okay, the day after the election, I went and got roses for all the women in my house.
Nice.
Because the opportunity that they had for to see a woman of color become potentially the president of the United States, and for that to be you know, shut down, that one opportunity for a shining moment for them, I think was you know, it was very disheartening.
That's next
real
level connection, son.
That's real. No. That's
because
real.
a lot of women, I think, tell me if I'm wrong or not, but you know,
No. Because
after.
Our household's pretty much the same, man. I had to drive.
Yours was dejected.
Yeah, I had to drive wifey to work. And and she didn't have like complete breakdown, but you know, some tears were shedding.
Yeah,
because it was just like, you know, it was a false sense of hope.
It was taken away.
Know, it was, you know, I can empathize as a Cowboy fan, you know, thinking that you finally gonna do some shit, and then you know saying so. But on the other level, you know, I kind of, and this might be, I guess not a flaw of a man, but you know, something that we're used to doing. Not necessarily in a good way, but preparing ourselves for the worst. Yeah, we're just kind of better at that. You understand what I'm saying?
That's that provisionary instinct that's in us, though.
Yeah. So
that's what causes us to have a lack of empathy, because we're thinking about the overall mission and we're trying to figure out where this bullshit fit in. You know what I mean?
So I was as I was watching the numbers, you know, grow farther and further apart. The night of, I was just like, you know, all right, let me prepare myself for tomorrow. Which good man, you know what I'm saying? Like I knew what I was going to be coming home to, the bevy of emotions there. So the next morning I was a little bit better prepared to have that conversation, you know. But yeah, being empathetic, man, that's it's a big one. So because we're gonna stay in that realm of emotions though, because this third one is difficulty expressing. This is one of ours. Difficulty expressing emotions. Difficulty expressing emotions, because that is, I think something that you said earlier on was condition.
Yeah,
you know,
preconditioned.
We're preconditioned. All of this ties in from the empathy to, you know, what we were just saying, like just using that example of the election and what I did the night before. We're preconditioned to be able to like safeguard ourselves, you know. Hard for me to do because naturally I'm a sensitive dude. You understand? So not sensitive in the to like no sissy and shit. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? But just I'm more emotional than most of my friends. You know, wear it on my sleeve and stuff like that. So you know, I can sometimes tear up just as much as Tiff. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, so I really don't struggle in this department expressing my emotions. I would have to like basically hear from you two with that one, difficulties expressing emotions. This they saying that this is a flaw.
Let me ask you this though. Where just on a personal level, how far have you gotten with understanding yourself and dealing with yourself as a man, as you?
That's crazy, man.
As you, Frankie, how have you done that?
That's a good ass question because I'm still finding out things about myself, which is I feel natural.
Okay.
But late bloomer, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? You know.
But you've gotten somewhere.
Definitely I've gotten somewhere where as far as would you say figuring out yourself, like
understanding yourself.
And how I'm wired. I'm wired like my ancestors, man. I'm wired like my grandfather, my dad. Even though I wasn't raised by him, that's crazy. I'm wired just like my dad, man. We think alike. So I'm steadfast and a czar in certain areas. Not like willing to compromise and bend, but then there are other areas. So like emotionally, that might be a little bit of the only child in me to think that growing up an only child is, that might be a little of not getting your way kind of, so now I'm passionate about, swinging emotion. Yeah. So,
I asked that because I think being able to express your emotions, it coincides with, have you worked on dealing with yourself, understanding yourself in order to express your emotions properly? Do I understand my triggers? Do I understand me enough to know how to express it the proper way? Because if I haven't worked on myself the right way, there's no way I'm going to be able to express to you how to deal with myself, And so I think when you are able to do that with your own internal work and own internal understanding, it helps you to become that better communicator. And you understand yourself, the fact that, hey, you know what? I wear my heart on my sleeve. I feel these things. So the fact that you can acknowledge that and take ownership of that helps you to be able to express other things to other people and to your wife. And so that's part of it. So I would say for me, I had to do a lot of work in my 20s. Because, high-headed, very, temper, all that other stuff, whatever case I get from my father. Obviously, he's, amazing father, but yeah, he was a hothead at times. And I had to work on those things in order to make sure that I was able to communicate properly to people that I would have to encounter in the future, and then obviously to my wife. Make sure that I was able to speak to her and to communicate to her in the proper way without me getting to the point where I'm about to blow a fuse. And so that's why I was asking about the self-work that you did on yourself. How far do you think you've gotten into that? Because I think that helps with communicating. Having high communication skills and emotional intelligence. Those are the things that help out with that. So
emotional intelligence.
I think that's if you can understand yourself more, then you can communicate better about what you feel to your spouse.
Makes perfect sense.
That's big time.
Absolutely.
That's the nugget right there.
But yeah, that really is. I don't know if
I'll
we got.
take it.
Yeah. I don't even know. We gotta go.
Love like that podcast.
Love like that.
Man.
Yes.
It's a whole lot of that going on that.
Yes.
A whole lot of
like
what you just
that.
heard going on over there with that. That's good, bro.
Yeah, that was real good, man. So we are on 4, and this is the almighty stubbornness. I just admitted my flaw to that just a second ago. So I'll leave the floor to y'all with the stubbornness. This is a big flaw in men.
You know what, man? The only thing that's helped the thing that's helped my stubbornness out, although it still exists, being a husband. If you learn how to leverage the gift that God gave you and your wife, that helps with the stubbornness. The wife is literally like a secret weapon for us as men in the world.
Speak on that.
That we, you'll hear me say this in other shows. When purpose is unknown, abuse is inevitable. That's what I learned from my spiritual. And many of us we haven't connected with our wives. We connect with our wives with empathy, sex, conversation. Women are big communicators. big time communicators. So when she wants to talk, that's our opportunity to connect. That's our opportunity to learn her purpose, so that we don't abuse, right?
Mm-hmm.
What God has given us, not only just abuse her for her purpose, but what He's given us to create, right? And go forth. Because if I'm fighting her, if I'm being stubborn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then that means, she's tapped into something and I'm not tapping in. It's like, this, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We still lead the way, but this is the way. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even now, outside of our marital relationships or romantic relationships, it's just pride.
That's all it is.
Because the thing that we fighting with it's either fact or fiction, son. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's either you're right or wrong, and there's information to support one way or the other. Why you not going with it?
Mm-hmm.
Or I won't go read the information. Or I won't find out the information, because if I find out, I might end up being wrong. That's just pride.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And we too old. I mean, we know pride comes before the fall. And at this point, we all know what pride is, and we all know we're walking in, and we know we're setting ourselves up for the fall.
Yeah.
So some people just haven't hit their head enough, or some people just born with hard heads, and they just going to keep cracking them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And men, right? So stubbornness is awakening us in more in men again because of that provisionary nature instinct. I've got to see what's going on and then go provide.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's where being a father helps me out too. Being a father has helped me see myself and my relationship with God so much, because I get irritated or mad or discipline my son over standards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I can see how I still love him through it all. I don't even be wanting to discipline him or punish him. It's like, dog, if you do right, you get whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the exact same way our Father in heaven feels about us, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely no different. So then you sit back and you self-examine, right? And it brings a lot of humility. And that helps with stubbornness.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because nothing helps with stubbornness like humility. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So being a father helps me learn not to be so stubborn. I'm still stubborn. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But not nearly as the monster I could have been or used to have been. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
So those two things, experiences in life, help me out. But outside of being a husband or a father, man, it's either fact or fiction. Like, you're either right or you're wrong, and the information is usually available for you to find out one way or the other. We usually don't want to find it out because our pride keeps us from wanting to be wrong.
Right.
You know
Very
what I'm
true.
saying?
Right.
Very
Right.
true.
And see, we done tapped on pride a ton of times, so we gonna go ahead and skip that one because I'm gonna throw a curveball at you, Jay, because we ain't discussed this beforehand. But we're gonna talk about mental health challenges. Now that's a biggie. We were off camera. We were talking a little bit about, we had mentioned a few celebrities and their mental
And we can
issues.
actually rope that all into health challenges, period.
Right.
Major health
Just
challenges,
health
period.
challenges mentally and physically.
Yeah.
That's another flaw that it might be, I don't want to say inherited, but learned from my grandfather. My grandfather used the same thing.
Okay.
Safeguard. Keep up the machismo kind of, macho image. That I got this, I got this. And my grandma like, doctor say something different. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? But my grandfather used to be the type, they go to the hospital, say, let's check this out because it seems like you're not really doing too well. And then my grandmother come and ask, like, hey, so doc, so how you doing? He's like, you ain't gotta ask him. Look, shit, I'm straight. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, now, get back to the crib, it's like,
Right.
So, we want to pretend we Superman. You know what I'm saying? We want to pretend we Superman. And we don't have no kryptonites. But that pride. You know what I'm saying? That of not wanting her to not see me have it under control. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I will say that, I know I'm very much, I got this.
Yeah.
I'm, look at me, I'm this, I'm that, in the third, or whatever the case is. And because I think that's because we care about them, because we care about our family. So we want to make sure that we, and just as far as for me, I always said, I told my wife, I said, I know I have to be good because I know if I freak out, everybody else in this house is gonna freak out.
Yep.
I cannot.
the poem
Inside, I'm probably like, oh shoot, this is about to go down.
Yeah.
On the inside, that's me. On the outside, I'm like, okay,
That's
all
the
right.
poem is. You can keep your head all about theirs. You losing theirs and blaming it on you. You gotta keep your cool.
Yeah, you have to, man. Like, because that's what you are as the leaders, man. You know, and this is as the men. So if I'm calm, I can then focus on make sure that you are calm, and then everything starts from here. Because you know, if they see me falling apart, then it's like I don't know what how they're going to function, whatever the case is. And so that's the pride in that as well. But also, you know, not wanting them to see you as Superman, and wanting them to see you be that. On the flip side, and this is me talking to myself as well. Sometimes make sure that you do whatever you can to do the right things in order that way you can be here to be the Superman. Make sure that's really what it is. That's really what it is. So making sure that I have my moments to decompress, to have that moment where I can just be, you know, just reset myself mentally, physically, whatever it is I need to do. You know, making sure that my wife and I are doing the proper things to make sure that we are staying ahead of the curve in regards to our health. That way we can be Superman and Superwoman for our children and for each other. Yeah. So that's something that we've been very intentional about doing that this year.
Gotcha.
And so, you know, we want to be that and we can be that, but in order to do that, you have to do the things that you were trying to avoid at times.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
No, that's a big one. And I'm gonna harp on what you said about you gotta take care of Superman so that Superman can be here. You know, I've had to cut off family drama. I gotta be healthy for them, because if not, if I keep that energy on, now I'm overly aggressive, yelling at my daughter to go to bed, and she's in the bed tense. And it transfers on everybody else. You know what I mean? So, you know, spiritual health too.
Yeah.
That's been the high priest of the house.
Yeah.
You know, we got to be able to put a word on everybody. I'm working on my health, because it's like, dog, I ain't trying to have everybody come to my funeral before they're adults. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to see them out to their lives first. And if I don't make no changes right now, then that's the likelihood of that.
Diminishing more and more.
So, you know, I guess really what holds us back from taking care of their health mentally and physically is a sense of pride still, right?
Yeah.
Fear, too. Don't want to face it.
Fear of the unknown. Yeah.
Anybody trying to go out and go to the doctor for a checkup, come up, what the hell? I would have never known about this if I went up in there. I wouldn't have to deal with the stress of knowing.
If I didn't hear it, it wasn't real.
Right.
And that's us just trying to control.
We said an oil change. We said an oil change. Why are you checking the brakes? Stuff like that.
Once I said, don't even check nothing else.
Right.
Right.
You're tired. Don't go up under that hood, son.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, your filter looking kind of does. No, I'm good.
No, it's not.
I'm good.
Why you looking? I needed a rear tire. Why you looking at the filter?
Right.
That's what's up, man. So if I was to summarize, like, you know, everything that we have going over here, we went through 5. Lord knows there's many more, right? Some of these flaws might not even resonate to the people listening. They may have their own, and I would encourage them to kind of jot down there so that they can be able to work on and improve theirs. Sort of like you said, you know, kind of finding yourself and how to deal with your flaws. So overall, fellas, we're just asking you to, one, we don't have all the answers. So trust in the system that is created for you to be able to have that companion to, you know, withstands your defaults, your everything, that every area that you may lack, that you claim you don't, right? And be open and willing enough to receive that, you know, let go of that stubbornness, to, even if you don't personally go through some of the things that your mate goes through, but to at least have that empathy and that sympathy for them, to be able to for them to be that shoulder, right, that ultimate support system, that how how Jay says, if everybody in your clique is rich, your clique is rugged, nobody will be. The church, how does that? I forgot a little.
Yeah,
But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Nobody.
Right, exactly.
No one will fall because everyone will be each other's crutches. There you go.
Right.
All right. So that's just the ultimate support system. You know, put our pride to the side. All right, and just the emotions is there, but for you to be a better listener.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, is there anything you want to add to that?
I would say, kind of going back to the stubbornness.
Yes, sir.
It's just the word. I know I talked about it last time I was on here with my wife. Stubbornness equates to ego. And I remember last time I was on here, I said ego is nothing but an acronym for edging God out.
Right.
That's what that is. This is you.
Yeah, I remember.
Removing the ego.
Yeah, I remember you said that in the show. Yeah.
Removing the ego to allow God to have enough room to put your pride aside to actually listen to what she has to say. At the end of the day, you have the final decision, but making sure that you hear from her, that you understand where she's coming from, and that she feels heard, that she feels seen. That way you can actually take into accountability the right things to do that's going to work for the family, not just work for you, but for the family. That's what it means to really be the man that you were called to be for your house, for your kids, for your wife, for your family as a whole. That's what it actually is to be a family man. Be a family man means that you are not just about I'm about my kids. That's not being a family man. Family man is being I'm about my kids and I'm about what my wife is also bringing to the table as well. That as a whole is what makes you the family man. And so when you were able to look and make decisions based off of what is right for the family and not just what's right for me, get that selfishness out, that stubbornness, that ego out the way, that's really where you start to see the change.
Absolutely. Bring it home, Jay.
I would challenge everyone to find a person, maybe a few. You know, to us men, find a older man that we look up to.
Get you an OG.
And one that knows you have some sort of an intimate relationship on some sort of a level. And ask him about some things about yourself. What you can be better or improve on. Or what you areas of opportunity or what you're just not good at, right? And then just listen. Don't argue. Don't try to explain. Don't try to shape, well, I'm like this because just listen. And then examine yourself with it. They could be right, it could be wrong, but use tools of examination outside of how we perceive ourselves that we trust, that are also godly, that are with us, that are rooting for us, that pray. The same people that pray for you and with you, right? Because they're going to give us an honest. I used to make a little joke, like somebody, you know, like my sister or my mom, somebody, man, you long storytelling. I would have a little joke. I would be like, that is a vicious rumor drummed up by people who know me best. You know what I'm saying? You know, the idea of these people that know you best, they see you. They see us, right? And just have the humility, put pride aside, and just listen and then examine. The process alone will work a muscle in you. The process of self-examination alone and reflection alone will work a powerful muscle in you that will translate to a better us in every area of your life, work, parent, home, everywhere. So that's the challenge, just self-examination.
That's what's up, man. That's definitely what's up. So again, just the fellas here kicking it today, man. And as you can see, as organic as we possibly could be. Got some wings here, you know what I'm saying? We picked out
wings
tonight.
Wings is on point, though.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Chopping it up. But definitely check us out on all streams, wherever you like to stream your podcast for your listening pleasures, whether it be YouTube or whether it be come on, Jay.
So I got you. So if you are watching this, the video version of this podcast should be on youtube.com. Make sure you hit the button that says subscribe. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, make sure that you check out the visual version by going to youtube.com/The Truth No Chaser, and again, subscribe. Now, if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast and we're watching the visual, support the show. Go to the Apple Podcast link, because most of our listeners, over 71% of our listeners, listen to us on the devices that give out blue text messages. Right? If you're listening to your podcast through Apple, you'll find a link, a space in there that says support the show. That's where you'll find our Cash App. Please support the show. Help us find, give us more so that we can give you better material, give you better guests. All right? Keep some more of that information pumping. when we have these specialists and these doctors on here that really give us the information that we need to overcome the lies that are being perpetrated to our community as Black folks. All right?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. And Brandon, I want to thank you again, my brother,
for
coming through. You know what I'm saying? Spend that knowledge. I knew that you would be a perfect person to talk about this. Right?
I appreciate
but it's not going to be the last convo.
No, not at all.
My man.
Love to come back, man.
Yes,
you guys are just excellent people, man. Just good quality people, man, and righteous brothers, man. So it's always love when I get a chance to connect with you guys. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And like always, keep walking in your truth, Black people. We out.
Peace.
Peace.